December 17th is when season 2 of Netflix's The Witcher premieres. Kind of upset it's not going to happen in October, but you have to realize filming was shut down quite a bit due to, I don't know, this big world event going on that we're all dealing with. Not only do we have episode titles for season 2's episodes, and also some icons. Well, for all the episodes except for 8, they're leaving that a mystery, though I have my guesses what that could be. So really quick, I want to go over each episode's name and icon, and then I will warn you when I start talking spoilers. Episode 1 is titled A Grain of Truth, with an icon that looks like a winged monster. Episode 2 is titled Kaer Morhen, which has a more skeletal version of the School of the Wolf's Medallion. Episode 3 is called What is Lost, and it has a sparrow icon. Episode 4 is called Redanian Intelligence, with a cloak and dagger. Episode 5 is titled Turn Your Back, and has weighing scales. Episode 6 is called Dear Friend, and appears to have an icon with a hand that's decaying or turning to smoke. It does look slightly clawed, but it's kind of hard to tell. Episode 7, Volathmir with a skull wearing a blindfold, and episode 8, it's a mystery for now because 𝘊𝘁𝑗𝑎𝑏 is a dirty, dirty tease. Now from here, I'm going to be talking how I think season 2 of Netflix's The Witcher will go based off these titles and icons, but also leaked spoilers, filming, the books, lore, history, all that. So if you want to stay in the dark for season 2 of Netflix's The Witcher, please don't watch. A super easy guess is that episode 1 will cover a Grain of Truth short story seen in the prequel book, The Last Wish. I mean, obviously it's called A Grain of Truth. That would be the ultimate twist if they were like, oh no, it's not that story. But in A Grain of Truth, the short story in The Last Wish, Geralt meets a man turned into a monster named 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐿. 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐿 lives in a rundown mansion, and there's also 𝒽𝒽𝓃𝓎, which is a higher vampire and so terrifying. The icon is obviously imagery of the 𝒽𝒃𝓎, whose natural form is a large black bat with sharp claws and fangs, though it can also take the form of a young woman. This 𝒽𝒃𝓎 appears as a dark-haired young woman with pale skin and enormous eyes. So I'd imagine in episode 1, Ciri and Geralt, while traveling to Kaer Morhen, find 𝐿𝐴𝐿's mansion and encounter him in episode 1. Ciri's nightmares in the bonfire scene is likely before they find the mansion, and I'm excited to see Geralt having his fatherly instincts kick in and his anger over the man in black that haunts her mind. If they're doing A Grain of Truth any justice, they will take most of the episode to tell it, and I know I'm just saying that because A Grain of Truth is one of my favorite short Witcher stories about Geralt, even though Ciri isn't with him in the book The Last Wish, when he goes and deals with 𝐿𝐴𝐿, so that's a change, but I doubt it's going to be anything too crazy. So please, 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 please do this short story justice. 𝘊𝘁𝑗𝑎𝑏. Episode 2, Kaer Morhen. Pretty easy to guess. Geralt and Ciri arrive at Kaer Morhen, Geralt's old Witcher school, and the closest thing he has to a home. I'd imagine this is a happier episode with Geralt reuniting with his Witcher brothers and his father figure Vesemir. Also when Ciri explores the keep and begins her Witcher training. Geralt appears to get on the training too, but he's still suffering from the leg injury and is likely trying to test out how far he's slipping or how much he can exactly do. And also to me, the icon reminds me of showing the roots of those at the School of the Wolf and how deep and old their bond is. I'm really excited for all the Witchers and the wisdom Vesemir drops on Geralt as a father figure himself, being like, hey, but also Geralt has dealt with many people. He's an old man, even though he looks young, so Geralt's dealt with kids before. It's just he's never had that type of bond, so it's something new, and I'm sure Vesemir is gonna, step in there and be like, dude, you need to calm down on this. Episode 3, What is Lost, has a sparrow icon. Now, the sparrow is connected to Ciri. It represents her. So I'm assuming this episode is going to deal with Ciri, maybe her losing her home and having to deal with training and her new life. Trish showing up during this episode and being the predator she is could happen, and I'm sure her and Geralt will bang. As well, this would be a good episode to show what is going on with Yennefer post the Battle of Sodden Hill. 𝘊𝘁𝑗𝑎𝑏, the showrunner, said we'd have a blinded Yennefer, but from the teaser she has her eyesight, so perhaps she's getting blindness fixed very quickly. From there, we know that Yennefer is taken prisoner by the squirrels, or a group of elves you don't want to mess with. Don't worry, from the leaks, she eventually either is let go, escapes, or is just traded. Episode 4, Redanian intelligence should excite the hell out of you. So it has a cloak and dagger icon, and it's most likely when we're going to meet our master spy, Dijkstra. Dijkstra runs the Redanian intelligence, and by the time of the show, he should have incredible power in Redania as the leader of their secret service. Dijkstra has a love affair with a mage named Philippa, which we're supposedly meeting in season 2. Their relationship will likely be seen in this episode, along with showing the viewers how ruthless and powerful he truly is. This would also be a perfect time for Jaskier to pop up, as he works for Dijkstra once upon a time. So we could actually see Jaskier and Dijkstra meet up. Episode 5 has the Wayne scales, which typically represents justice or the law. So this could be our introduction to 𝑘ādrínghir and Fen and the Dorian agency, detective agency. Maybe someone, or Dijkstra himself, is showing up there to get some information. It could also be where we see the group of mages, elves, and Nilfgaardians meeting up and making trades. The mages want Yennefer back, and Nilfgaard wants Fringilla and Cahir back. In the end, Yennefer will be back with her mage friends, and Cahir and Fringilla will go back to Nilfgaard with a peace treaty that of course won't last. Since we were promised we are going to see more of Nilfgaard this season, we could show Cahir returning to report on what happened. Episode 6, Dear Friend, has me really worried. This is the episode where Lauren Hissrich made a really stupid fucking decision to kill one of the well-known witchers from the books instead of one of the original new witchers she created just for this show. My guess is she wanted people to feel like there were stakes in this show, and that, oh hey, even people that don't die in the books or die a certain way, they could die from a terrible 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐴𝐻 or some other way. The 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐴𝐻, a terrifying monster, is going to attack Kaer Morhen, and at least one witcher dies. If you're curious, it's likely Eskil. Some sex workers show up before the attack also because, I don't know, Kaer Morhen is supposed to be really hard to find, but sure, why not? They're just bringing prostitutes there. Honestly, Dear Friend just screams Geralt loses a witcher buddy. At least we get to see Geralt and Vesemir fight back to back this episode. However, let me throw a curveball here. Dear Friend might be referring to a letter that Geralt writes to Yennefer asking for her help with Ciri and her powers, and it pisses Yennefer off. I mean, think about it. If you and another person banged and you aren't on the greatest of terms, and then he sends you a piece of mail saying, Dear Friend, you might get a little pissy. So maybe episode 2 is actually where we see the 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐴𝐻 attack, and the roots are the branches of its terrible body. But anyways, I would suppose after sending the letter, he gets a letter back, and Yennefer says, hey, yeah, I'll help Ciri, and Geralt and Ciri start to head out to Nennike's temple. Episode 7, titled Volathmir, has a blindfolded skull, and I feel like things are going to get spooky this episode. The title means Deathless Mother in Elven, and I think this is the gender bent 𝑘ʲ. From casting, the creature is described as a very old white-haired woman, a demon who roams the land bargaining and preying on people's deepest and darkest desires. So we're getting an immortal murderous sorcerer who can or has turned itself into a giant spider-looking thing. And I think Ciri and Geralt encounter this monster on their trip to the Temple of Melitele with Triss. It could explain some of Ciri's terrified looks in the teasers. And if casting leaks are true, this creature has an elder woman showing up throughout the season, causing mayhem, and I hope it's a slow, terrifying buildup to her meeting Ciri. The last episode icon and title is not given, but I'm assuming this is when Geralt drops Ciri off at Nennike's temple, the Temple of Melitele, and he goes off to find more information on the prophecy and what exactly is in store for Ciri. I wouldn't be surprised if the last episode is called something like Temple of Melitele. So those are my guesses based on the episode titles and all the other information we have. It could be completely wrong. I'm not saying I am right in any way, shape, or form. I'm just guessing. But like, subscribe, and let me know what you think the titles of the episodes and the icons mean, and what you think is going to happen in season 2 of The Witcher.